Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. Happy Saturday. Happy Sunday. All right. I get excited when I have good content to present to you. So today is one of those days where I am a little excited, and then I got overexcited, and I didn't have time to set up my computer, the other way around, 180 degrees. So today is going to be a wallpaper day, a wallpaper live stream. All right, I surprised myself by the amount of information I've gathered. So today we will talk about, we'll answer one very important question. That is, will China send troops, or is China sending troops to Russia? Because there have been things circulating, indicating that China has been or is sending troops to help Russia fighting Ukraine. So we'll answer that question. But before that, I want to share with you some insight on Xi Jinping's long-term ambition in Russia. And we've heard about his long-term ambition in the Pacific, but this one is new, so I think it's definitely worth sharing, and it's related to his short-term strategy, right? So we'll talk about his long-term strategy and short-term strategy in Russia. And then somebody asked me today if Xi Jinping had a brain surgery, so we'll do a survey at the end. I'll share with you some information. I'll begin by telling you about the unusually high, what should I say? The unusually high interactions or activities between the Chinese and Russian officials. Okay, so first we'll talk about the unusual interactions between them, and then we will talk about why the Chinese are saying that China is sending troops to Russia. I'll talk about Xi Jinping's long-term ambitions in Russia. Then we'll collectively answer the question, will he send troops to Russia in the short term, followed by the brain surgery claim. Okay, first things first. In August, Western media, citing a Russian newspaper, reported that as many as 98% of Chinese banks are rejecting direct yuan payments from Russia. And since the beginning of the year, an increasing number of Chinese banks have jumped ship on yuan-denominated transactions with Russia. And smaller regional banks, previously believed to be a safer bet because of the lower exposure to international markets, have now followed suit and jumped ship as well. So these media reports suggest that the Chinese are very cautious about potential sanctions by the United States for their role in the war against Ukraine. Now, because the source of this was from a Russian media, I took it with a grain of salt. But on the other hand, if the Chinese are so cautious about being sanctioned by the West, then the question is, why are we seeing another pattern? That is, in the past couple of months, high-level interactions between Chinese and Russian officials have been unusually high or frequent. Can you guys hear me all right? Because this desk sits very low and my microphone is unusually low. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes? I just want to check my my audio before I continue. Loud and clear. Okay. Loud and clear. Okay. That's good. So first things first, Xi Jinping and Putin met twice in less than 2 months. First, on May 16th, Putin visited Beijing. And then the two met again on July 3rd during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Kazakhstan. Then, starting from July, scores of high-ranking, I should say highest-ranking CCP officials visited Russia. So from July 9th to the 13th, Zhao Leji, Politburo Standing Committee member, chairman of the National People's Congress, visited Russia and met with Putin in St. Petersburg. And then from July 21st to 23rd, another Politburo Standing Committee member, and first Vice President No, what I'm saying. First, Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang visited Russia. He co-chaired with his Russian counterparts the Russia-China Investment Corporation meeting, the China-Russia Energy Corporation meeting, and he attended the opening ceremony of the China-Russia Energy Business Forum. Then came August. Ukrainian forces surprised everyone by crossing the border and penetrating deep into the Kursk region in Russia. Right, that started on August the 6th and continues today. And this has put tremendous pressure on Putin and his forces. After that, a number of high-ranking Chinese officials have gathered in Moscow. Someone jokingly said, as if the Chinese State Council had moved or has moved to Moscow. So on the 19th of August, State Councilor Shen Yiqing, she's the only female politician at the deputy state level. So she co-chaired a China-Russia humanitarian cooperation meeting with Russian deputy prime minister, with a Russian deputy prime minister in Moscow. The following day, Vice Premier He Lifeng, who's in charge of the economy, co-chaired the China-Russia prime minister's meeting. And then also visiting Moscow at the same time was Chinese Premier Li Qiang. He stayed there from August the 20th to the 23rd. While Li Qiang was there, he signed with his counterpart a joint communique, a China-Russia investment cooperation framework, and 15 other documents in Moscow. Now, the Chinese didn't disclose this. The Russians did. So it seems that the Chinese didn't want the outside world know what agreements they signed. But the Russians were eager to let people know what they're doing with the Chinese. So they agreed on a new version of the Russia-China Investment Cooperation Plan, covering 86 major projects with a total amount reaching 18 trillion rubles, which is about 200 billion US dollars. That's not a small amount. And these projects involve raw materials, natural gas, chemical industries, agricultural, automobile manufacturing, home appliance production, and transportation logistics, infrastructure construction, and others. And the Russian announcement, the Russian statement also said that by the end of 2023, the trade volume between the two countries exceeded $240 billion US dollars, which is 2.7 times that of the amount 10 years ago. So this is all from the Russian side. So now I just gave you the conflicting, on one hand, the Chinese, or at least the world's media are saying that the Chinese are very cautious about being sanctioned. But on the other hand, you see all these high-ranking Chinese officials visiting Russia. So now that brings us to the next question. Has China sent troops to Russia, or is Xi Jinping interested in sending troops to Russia? Because the Chinese are talking about it. On August 22nd, of all the officials I told you about, of all the Chinese officials I told you about, I didn't mention this most important one. The commander of the Chinese army, Li Qiaoming, met with Russian army commander and also Russian deputy defense minister in Moscow, where the two discussed a military cooperation. Again, the Russians issued statements. Now, previously, we know the Chinese and the Russians have been cooperating, but usually it's the defense minister that visits the other country. So why is the CCP send a military service commander to Russia? What are they trying to accomplish? So are the Chinese signaling sending troops to join the war? Um, so hold on. Actually, I have a video. I have a video. So those of you who I don't know if you can. Where's Let me start from the beginning. So this is a news clip, I think, from the Russian side showing the Chinese army commander meeting with his Russian counterpart. And if you understand Russian, you will know what they're saying, but I don't. This is they yeah. I'm gonna mute this, but watch after this. I mean, this is just some ceremony paying tribute to the to the soldiers, to the Okay, this is the clip that I found today on the Chinese internet. So you see, there are young Chinese men lined up, um, obviously in the red square. Okay, so are these? So the question is, are these Chinese mercenaries, or so obviously they lined up, right? This is in Moscow or in Russia. I think this is the Red Square, judging from the building. So they were chanting drills, Chinese drills. Um, are these Chinese mercenaries? Or they're undercover PLA servicemen sent to Russia to help in the war? Um, Now, also today, let me share with you this post. I saw it today, and this one claims that the first batch of troops aiding Russia has been deployed, consisting of 3 divisions with a total of 18,000 soldiers. It was posted on August 23rd at 7:30. An IP address is Guangdong. That's interesting. And there's another one. Says Russia-bound Red Cross troops changed into winter gear. I don't understand what is winter gear. It's not that cold in Russia. Of course, it's colder than southern China, but beginning their journey of battlefield rescues. I have no way of verifying these images and posts, but the videos showing the young Chinese men lined up in the Red Square is real, or seems very real. So you can decide for yourself if China has secretly sent troops to Russia, but I will offer you my analysis after I tell you about Xi Jinping's long-term ambition in Russia. Yeah, what did I just say? I'll tell you whether I think these posts are real after I discuss Xi Jinping's long-term ambition in Russia. But what I want to say is, while Chinese Premier Li Qiang was in Moscow, the Ukrainians launched one of the largest drone attacks in Moscow. Some drones were only 38 kilometers or 24 miles away from the Kremlin. Now, Li Qiang definitely experienced the attack firsthand. He definitely experienced the intensity of war firsthand because he was in Moscow. So why did the Ukrainians specifically choose the timing of Li Qiang's visit for this drone attack on Moscow? Perhaps they want to send a warning to the Chinese. So let me now talk about Xi Jinping's long-term ambition in Russia. Although it appears that the Chinese are helping Putin underhandedly, Xi's ultimate agenda isn't one that will make Putin happy. Although Xi has called Putin his best friend, a communist leader's ambition to rule the world always outweighs any friendship he has, if he has any. Remember when Xi Jinping visited Moscow in last March? And when bidding farewell, she told Putin, he said, right now, there are changes, the likes of which we haven't seen in 100 years. And we're the ones driving the changes together. And Putin responded, I agree. So what are the opportunities for that Xi Jinping has in mind that are only once, in 100 years? A few days ago, yeah, you're familiar with this man, the Chinese dissident living in Australia and a former law professor at Beijing University, Yuan Hongbin. He reviewed Xi's ambition as well as his anxiety, Xi Jinping's anxiety and ambition in an audio interview. I haven't copied the link to the description. I'll do that after this talk. So based on his sources within the CCP in Beijing, he said Xi Jinping's anxiety lies in the major setbacks encountered by his global strategy of the East rising and the West declining, as well as his great changes unseen in a century, as he told Putin when they bid farewell. So in brief, Xi Jinping's grand geopolitical strategy has two main components. The first is to take over Taiwan by August 1st, 2027. That's before the centenary of the founding of the Chinese PLA. Taking Taiwan will force the United States to retreat in the Pacific. The CCP has always envisioned sharing the Pacific with the United States along the second island chain. So we're familiar with this ambition of Xi Jinping, but what he said next is new, and I want to share that with you. So according to Professor Yuan, Xi Jinping's second geopolitical ambition is to claim the territories east of the Ural Mountains. I think in English you say Ural, but in Russian it's Ural Mountains, currently occupied by Russia. But Xi Jinping's goal is to claim that territory by 2049, which is the centenary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Let me show you a map. So here's the map. So the Ural Mountain, I want to say how the Russians say it. It's the Ural Mountain, not Ural. The Ural Mountains, it's highlighted in red. It currently divides Europe and Asia. Xi Jinping's ambition is to push Russia back west of the Urals and make Russia a purely European country. So this is Xi Jinping's vision for China by 2049, according to Professor Yuan. And he also said that Xi intends to use the Russia-Ukraine war to, one, distract the United States and Europe and limit their focus and involvement in the Taiwan Strait. And two, use the Russia-Ukraine war to weaken Russia fundamentally. The Russia-Ukraine war will cause permanent damages to Russia and its strength, thereby creating favorable conditions for the Chinese, or I should say for the CCP, to achieve the second step of his grand strategy. So the Russian-Ukraine war to Xi Jinping is like killing two birds with one stone. But what does this imply? It implies that Xi Jinping plans to rule China for the rest of his life, and he would be 96 years old in 2049. Professor Yuan said that Xi Jinping's primary focus is, of course, on Taiwan. And to do that, before the Beidaihe retreat, the Beidaihe summer meeting, Xi Jinping had already instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to mobilize all political and economic resources. Let me come back. Before the Beidaihe summer retreat, So Xi Jinping has already instructed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to mobilize all political and economic resources and connections cultivated by the CCP in the United States to implement a stealth plan to make sure that Donald Trump loses the 2024 presidential election. And this is because, I mean, by the way, people who are knowledgeable about CCP know that the CCP certainly loves Kamala Harris in the White House. Because she's inexperienced in global affairs, not to mention war, right? But there's another reason why CCP prefers her over Donald Trump, according to Professor Yuan. This is because Xi Jinping's advisors have already assessed the US elections and determined that if Trump loses, there is a higher possibility that a new wave of political division and social turmoil will arise in the United States, thereby creating a favorable opportunity or favorable window of opportunity for the Chinese PLA to launch attack on Taiwan. Now, to realize this strategy, Xi Jinping must form a solid and nefarious alliance with Russia. At the same time, he must also establish strong strategic alliances with Iran, Hamas. Additionally, he must further strengthen the relations with North Korea. These are the core geopolitical strategies of Xi Jinping, which are the necessary steps he has laid out for a war before he launches a war in the Taiwan Strait. So for now, he will not abandon the alliance with Russia due to Ukraine's incursions in Russia. So coming back to our question, is Xi Jinping going to send troops to Russia? And are those two posts that we just saw, here we go, real or fake, right? These two posts. One claiming that 18,000 PLA troops have already been deployed to Russia, and the other is saying that the rescue personnel has already been dispatched. My assessment is that these posts are fake because Xi Jinping is interested in using Russia to help him in the Taiwan Strait. He's interested in weakening Russia. He understands that if he sends troops to Russia, NATO will be involved and World War III is unavoidable. Although Xi Jinping doesn't mind a full-scale war and has been preparing for it, he doesn't want the war to be in Russia. He wants to fight in the Pacific over Taiwan. His real interest is Taiwan, but he wants Putin to keep distracting the EU and the US. So he must help Putin to prevent his buddy from losing the war overnight. Therefore, those two posts claiming that the PLA has been deployed to Russia, in my opinion, are fake. It might be the work, or they might be the work of some individuals in China who are who are spreading these rumors to cause troubles for Xi Jinping. Now let's talk about Xi Jinping's anxiety and possible surgery. However, the recent cases of political disloyalty within the CCP and the PLA directly impact Xi Jinping's two grand strategies, right? Geopolitical ambitions. According to Professor Yuan's contact in Beijing, Xi Jinping is currently experiencing some severe form of anxiety. And the anxiety is related to the officials he took down successively last year, like his foreign minister, Qin Gang, his two defense ministers. And Professor Yuan said that people often say the role of Chinese defense minister is minimal because he's a figurehead without real power. Yuan disagreed with that view. He said that Chinese defense minister plays an important role in the PLA. He not only oversees military diplomacy, but also by being a member of the CMC, being a member of the Central Military Commission, is the minister is in charge of military equipment, development planning, and the vast many military industrial organizations. So therefore, according to his sources, when Xi Jinping appointed Wei Fenghe as the defense minister, he really trusted him and told him about his two-step grand vision or grand strategies, which is take over Taiwan by 2027, and then force Russia to retreat to the west of Ural or Ural Mountains by 2049. So he told him these two grand visions of him. However, during the investigation by CCP's disciplinary inspection system, it was discovered that Wei Fenghe had repeatedly mocked and disparaged Xi Jinping's two grand visions or strategies in private. Wei believed that Xi Jinping neither understands geopolitics nor has a realistic assessment of his own political and military strength. However, Wei did not say anything in front of Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping's anxiety stems from, in his opinion, the disloyalty of his officials. Scores of his formerly trusted officials, from the two defense ministers, the foreign minister, and then successive leaders in the rocket force and then the strategic support force, they have all been implicated. They all have this problem. Professor Yuan said these people are purged not because of corruption, but because they are two-faced. And this is what the professor said. He said, the above-mentioned individuals have dealt a far greater political and psychological, psychological, I'm sorry. Not physiological, psychological. Yeah, they have dealt a far more political and psychological blow to Xi Jinping than General Lin Biao's betrayal did to Mao Zedong back in the day. Lin Biao was Mao's chosen successor, and he and his son staged a coup against Mao. And when their plan was exposed, they fled to Russia, but their plane was shot down. And everyone knows that Lin's betrayal caused a serious damage to Mao, to him physically and politically. So Professor Yuan said the outbreak of the disloyalty or the disloyalty epidemic now gives Xi Jinping tremendous anxiety, and it's worse than what happened to Mao. So Xi's demand for absolute loyalty from his officials is an unattainable goal. In the face of deteriorating economy, the officials will be loyal to their own personal interests and nothing else. And this is one of the most serious political crises Xi Jinping has ever faced. Professor Yuan believes that Xi Jinping's Secret Service has collected intelligence reports documenting the widespread ridicule and curses directed at Xi by his officials in private. And this is making the Chinese leaders sleepless at night. Xi's anxiety stems from being surrounded by these double-faced officials. But his only counterattack is continuing his political loyalty screening and thorough reviews of officers and officials at all levels. But in the military, in the rocket force, he's reviewing officers at and above the regimental level within the rocket force. And he wants to purge everyone he does not think he can trust and rebuild the rocket force command system from top to bottom. That's what he's doing. All right, now let's talk about Xi Jinping's stroke because I was asked about this question today. When Xi Jinping hosted the welcoming ceremony um, to receive the visiting Vietnamese leader To Lam last week, all state media delayed releasing close-up pictures and footages of Xi Jinping for hours. However, the Vietnamese press accidentally released a picture that might have revealed his health secret. Let me share that with you. Let me make this bigger. Here's the picture. Did you notice anything unusual? You probably have already seen this. Here it is. Take a look at this. There seems to be a 90-degree angle in Xi Jinping's hairline. And it looks very unusual because it's not stylish. It's like you have this 90-degree sharp angle in the back of your head. And and I compared it to his previous hairdo. It just the drastic the difference is very obvious, right? I mean, it just doesn't look like a good haircut. So a YouTuber with a medical background pointed out that it may be that Xi Jinping underwent a surgery. It may be a minimally invasive surgery or to treat his stroke, or there was some kind of an operation. His hair was shaved to do some kind of procedure, uh, on his head. Um, and this is the reason why no state media released any pictures or footage showing Xi Jinping from this angle. If there's no picture showing him from this angle. This is the only picture showing him in this angle, and it was taken by the Vietnamese press. And so here's the question. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a doctor. So those of you who are medical doctors probably know what kind of surgery it is, and what kind of health issues he had. So all I can ask you is, do you think Xi Jinping had a surgery? Or do you think he just had a bad haircut? So let's do a survey now. So vote 1 if you think he had a surgery, and vote 2 if you think he had a really bad haircut. So let's see what people say. But this is the reason why people, are still saying that he had a stroke. Let's see what people say. Oh, 1, 2, 1. Wow, I have a lot of ones and twos. Is it a double? No, this guy is Xi Jinping. This is not a double. If it's a body double, I mean, they there's no way they messed up his hair. 3, stupid question. You think the question is stupid? Okay. All right. I don't really care what it is. I just think it's funny. It's interesting that he had this really odd looking haircut. Let's see what people say. The Bears barber fell asleep at the job and was subsequently executed. All right. All right. Anyways, that's what I kept it at the very end. I don't think it's I don't think it matters as much, but since someone asked me today, I just included the pictures here. All right, that's all. Let's see. Microaneurysm. Microaneurysm. Wondering. Okay. All right. All right. I have some. I saw that I have some super stickers. I want to thank people. From Brian Cow. Well, thank you, Brian, for your continued support. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And then from Michael Harrington. Thanks for all your hard work, Lei. Topics have been great and you've covered a lot of depth. Thank you. Yeah, I think the first part of my presentation is very interesting because the Chinese seriously believe that their government has sent troops to Russia, but I really don't think so. Um, Although it is certainly interesting for the commander of the Chinese army to be meeting with Russian army commander. It's not the defense minister. I mean, that could also be, it could also be a sign that the current defense minister isn't doing much, right? He's not given the title of a state counselor and he's not a member of the CMC. So usually it's the defense minister who goes to Russia, right, to talk about collaboration. But in this case, Xi Jinping didn't send the defense minister; he sent the army commander. So it could be an indication that the defense minister is just a prop, right? All right, let's see. From the OM4N. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love that. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all. I think that's all. All right, I'll randomly pick some questions. 1 and 2, 2 and 1. All right. Going 60-40. So 60% people think he had some kind of surgery on his head, and 40% believe it's a bad haircut. Okay, all right. The reason somebody asked me the 8 o'clock, I said, but do you think they would allow a barber to mess up? No. It's that's why. How could his barber mess up his haircut like that? I mean, it's not a small. I mean, it just looks so strange, right? I don't think the barber messed up. Unconventional ideas. She has access to people who are competent barbers. Certainly, I mean, more likely he had some sort of medical condition requiring it, though it may not have been anything requiring a surgery. Good, true. And 3 is don't know. Juno Garnett. Thank you. Junal. I'm trying to speak French. Okay. All right. Could be the other side of the head. What do you mean the other side of the head? Norbert Claudes. Why not using a little makeup to cover the scar rather than dealing with another publishing problem? I mean, I think they already probably used makeup to cover his skin, so we don't see any scar. But the hair hasn't grown back, right? If you really look at, I mean, there's an angle, there's a 90-degree angle. I mean, if it's cut like, it just doesn't look right. Nobody will have that kind of a hairdo. What kind of hairdo is that? And Xi Jinping is not known as someone who, with a avant-garde kind of a hairdo. All right. But we didn't, haircuts, both sides have to match, but we didn't see any picture on the other side. So, I mean, in fact, in the official pictures. Everything is from the front. We did not see any pictures from the side. And this is the only picture from the side. Yeah. Alan Mandel, electrodes can be used on the neck for trans something something electrical nerve stimulation, a non-invasive treatment that uses low voltage to help relieve pain. Okay. All right. I learned something. Okay. So he has pain. Seek the truth. How about all these lower level officials using their IDs to make videos of injustice? Yes, that has been a trend. There are a lot of lower ranking CCP officials making videos, with their IDs in their hand, telling the mistreatment the corruption, the injustice and mistreatment that they were subject to. There has been, including judges, court judges are saying how they were mistreated by their superior. It's a riot. Love. Countries will sometime perform joint military drills. Is it possible China Russia had something scheduled to explain maybe why army commanders are there and we saw pictures of Chinese soldiers? I don't think the Chinese have sent soldiers to Russia. I mean, all the way to like Moscow to do military drills. I mean, last time when the PLA was in Belarus to conduct joint military exercises, that was a major news because it's the first time the PLA set their foot in Europe, right? And so I don't think this is. And also, these young men didn't wear military uniforms. They wore ordinary clothes, but they look like they were trained. They're not ordinary people, but it looked like they're well trained, and they were following some kind of a drill, military drills for the formation to form that line. So I don't know. I saw that video today. I just thought it's very interesting. I decided to share that with you. All right. Someone asked me, has China ever taken an external country? Has China ever taken over an external country? I mean, China historically has. Under the CCP, I mean, China fought several wars, right? With India, with Vietnam, with Russia. So has taken over an external country. That hasn't happened. I mean, it also in Korea, in the Korean War. All right. Velam Sours. How stable is China financially? I know this is a subject that's of interest to people. I used to talk about it a lot, and people have asked me questions. But at this point, I mean, if I talk about China's economy, it will be, I mean, all the numbers are not trying to do any financial analysis at this point. I think isn't productive. I think it's counterproductive because the numbers at this point do not mean anything. I mean, when the economy is still in a relatively stable state, then you can still apply some economic measures trying to say, well, it has declined or it has, the changes. You could do trend analysis, you could do year-over-year comparisons. At this point, I don't know. I mean, it could be my notion and it could be a wrong notion. I just don't know. I looked at some of the numbers. I'm like, does it still tell us anything? Or what, or any conclusions we draw from those numbers? Are they actually productive or counterproductive? So that's why I've been trying to stay away from any financial analysis for China at this point, unless we have some very creative ways to look at the numbers. I mean, part of the challenge is we don't have good numbers. So we have to piecemeal together a whole bunch of data, trying to make sense, trying to do some trend analysis. But then I don't know if any conclusion is still relevant at this point. But we'll see. I'm not saying that I won't do any financial analysis. We'll see what we can gather. Seek the truth. Will the CCP switch to a war economy to jumpstart the bad economic situation? Nothing else is working. Yes, from all angles, it looks like it is expediting its preparation process in anticipation of war. I mean, years ago, it was only people like myself and some YouTubers talking about it, but now mainstream media have been documenting about how much China has been stocking up, right, stockpiling resources, and but it's very wasteful. I mean, China has been stockpiling grains and other resources for the past 3 to 4 years at the least, but a lot of these resources, I think, have been wasted. They are not naturally, because for grains, for example, you cannot store grains indefinitely. You have to consume them or sell them. But in China, the government has stockpiling these grains, but these grain depots have been caught in fire. They have been disappearing. So I think the CCP will be surprised to find out, of all the resources they have spent money buying, how much is actually left. I think it will be. I think it's a fraction of what they have spent money on. And where do they go? Well, corrupt officials at all levels have treated them as their private properties and monetized their authorities and turn those resources into money. So yes, China has stockpiled many resources. On the other hand, they're half empty because of corruption. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, I'll Crouching Tiger, Streaming Lay. Crouching Tiger. What's the other half? Crouching Tiger. What's the name of the movie? I forgot. Crouching Tiger. Hidden Dragon? Yeah, Hidden Dragon. All right. All right. From Ray Ward. I think a lot of their stockpiles are contaminated or rotting. You're right. A lot of them are contaminated and rotting. A lot of them are gone or is gone. They're resold. Hidden Dragon. Okay. All right. Sleeping Dragon. All right. Green storage in China has been on ground, not in adequate storage silos. Sleeping Dragon. Okay. All right. That's all for tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will certainly enjoy mine. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.